Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 8th grade concept of describing the volume of a cylinder. This is standard 8.6a in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 7 off the 2017 released STAAR test. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have a cylinder, and we've got the dimensions. The height is just given to us in h, but we do have the diameter of the base there at 5 inches, and so we need to find an equation, not necessarily solve for it since we don't know what h is, but what is an equation that we can use to find the volume? Well, we need to go to our mathematics chart to find that the volume is going to be it's going to be a base. Usually they use the capital B there. So base times height. And this is for either a cylinder or a prism. And so the height is pretty easy, right? The height is just going to be a single value. And in this case, they don't give it to us. They're just going to give it to us in h. That's why you see h in all of our answer selections here. The tricky part, if there's a tricky part, is calculating this base, right? So that's our question mark. And because this can be used for cubes, this can be used for triangular prisms, rectangular prisms, hexagonal prisms, and cylinders, the base changes based on what type of shape we're dealing with. So we're dealing with a cylinder. So I'm going to kind of shade in the base right here. So our base happens to be a circle. If it was a cube, the base would be a square. Rectangular prism, it'd be a rectangle, so on and so forth. So we need to figure out how to find this base, and the b, what that really means is we need to find the area of the base. So it's just going to be abbreviated as a b, but we're actually calculating the area. All right, so how do we find the area of a circle? Because if we can find the area of a base, right, that's going to be 2 dimensions. Right, if we were doing squares or rectangles, it would be base times height. If we were doing a triangle, it would be 1/2 base times height. We're multiplying 2 different dimensions there, right? And then we're going to multiply it by this height, and that's going to be the 3rd dimension. So that's why we get 3D. It's 3 dimensions because we have 2 dimensions in the base, 1 dimension in the height. But circles are round. They don't have length times width for us to use. So we have to know first that we need the area of a circle. If we go back to our mathematics chart, we'll see that it's actually there. So when we look at the area of a circle, we get this equation right here. Area of a circle equals pi r squared. And so we need to really just find one unit right there, that r. Pi is, if we wanted to calculate it, is represented by something close to 3.14. It's actually the ratio of the circumference over the diameter, but we don't need to change that into numbers. We can actually look at all our answer selections, we can actually leave it as pi. So we did all this work. We don't know what pi means. It's just a symbol that we're going to leave the way it is. We don't know what h is. We're just going to leave it as h. So the only number we actually need to come up with is a radius. All this work just to find the radius. All right, so what do they give us? We'll take a look. It's very, very tiny, but you can see, let me zoom in right here. This is what we see. We see 5 inches going from side to side. So obviously, if we're not paying attention, we might think, oh, let's just put that in there, but that's the diameter. That's the tricky part. So they give us the diameter. So radius equals half the diameter. So it goes from the center out to the side. So if the whole diameter is 5, then that means this radius has got to be 2.5. And then the radius to the other side will be 2.5. You just take your diameter, you cut it in half. So that equals 5/2, and that equals 2.5. So putting it all together, we're going to have volume equals pi 2.5 squared times height. Answer is C.